Hello and welcome to Qtr Time podcast in partnership with Lovell Netball. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P. And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed.
At Qtr Time Pod, we are big advocates of being open when talking about periods. And so we're really pleased to say that our friends at Modibody have collaborated with Puma to launch a new range of active period underwear to keep you free from leaks, sweat and discharge when you work out, no matter the time of the month.
This active period underwear collection comes in 3 styles and a range of sizes, absorbencies and 2 colorways. If you're passionate about the planet, then you'll be pleased to know they are made from 82% recycled material.
As sponsors of the podcast, Modibody are delighted to offer our listeners an exclusive 15% discount on the collection at modibody.com if you use the code Qtr Modibody. You can find all the T's and C's and the code in the podcast notes.
Go check it out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of Qtr Time podcast. Well, Luce, it was a big double-header round in the Netball Super League. And not only that, but down under, we saw netballing legend Liz Ellis winning I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Australia, which is
amazing.
Fun. What can that woman not do, honestly?
Yeah, the absolute scenes. I would love a netballer on the UK version, I have to say. I think it should probably be Joe Harton.
Oh, I was going to say Serena Guthrie.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. So what have we got coming up in today's episode, Luce?
So firstly, we'll be recapping a huge doubleheader weekend for Pride Round in the Netball Super League. Sidebar, we're going to put a link to the Netball Super League Stonewall fundraiser in the show notes, so please do check that out. And also on today's episode, we'll reveal our Game of the Round and our Player of the Round. Our special guest this week is the Mystics assistant coach and former Collingwood Magpies head coach, Rob Wright, for our second coaching profile of the season. We hear all about how he got started in netball, some challenges he's faced along the way, managing negative media attention, developing superstars, working with Netball Jamaica, so much more. This is really a fascinating episode. I think if you think you know Rob Wright, you're wrong.
Yeah, I think we did there.
Sorry, but it is genuinely one of my, I know I say this every week, but it's one of my favorite conversations we've had for sure.
Yeah, you literally took the words out of my mouth. We do say it every single week, but really it is a very, very, very special episode. So can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. But before we get stuck into the episode itself, just a couple of news bulletins for your ears. First off, we are so pleased to formally announce that we will be covering the Netball World Cup live from Cape Town. We had our media accreditation approved. It's happening, people. It's happening. You can expect interviews, analysis, special guests, live podcasts, you name it, we'll deliver it. If anyone followed our Commonwealth Games coverage last year, there'll be probably very similar elements, but we genuinely really want to know what you guys want from us while we're out there. So please do get in touch if there's anything in particular that you'd really like us to do or any particular guests you'd like us to try and get on. And we will do our very best to get it organised, but get excited.
Yep. For sure. And also kind of connected to this, we want to make as much noise as possible about the World Cup and get as many people following it as we can. So please do share the podcast with your friends. Pop a little cheeky link on the old netball group chat so we can spread the good word of netball far and wide ahead of the World Cup. We have more and more listeners every week, Luce, which is amazing. So we just want that to grow as much as possible before the World Cup so we can, just get all the stuff out there and get people talking.
Yeah, the sport deserves it. And secondly, we're also going to be doing a cheeky little social media giveaway for some Fast 5 tickets. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And finally, I just want to do a little shout out to the lovely Hannah and her team. They're a team of nurses and their team name is Beta Blockers, which I thought was genius.
Excellent.
So big shout out to you guys. Thanks for getting in touch on Instagram. We honestly love chatting to all of you every single week. We can never get enough of it. So get in touch.
And send us your team names if you've got a good one. The best ones I've heard are Block It Like It's Hot. And there's also a Thank You Nets as well that I've seen. There's so many great ones.
Thank You Nets. I don't get that one.
The Ariana Grande song, Lucy, Where Is Your Culture?
Oh, Thank You Next. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good, very good.
Never mind.
It's late in the day. Okay, so let's get stuck into our 3-word summaries then. First up of our doubleheader weekend on Friday was Dragons versus Mavericks, with Mavericks coming away with a narrow win, 59-54. And the summary I've gone for is sustain for 60. Now, this one sounded like an extremely good matchup. Dragons actually led after the first quarter, and it was all tied up with just 5 minutes left to play, but a crucial intercept from Quashie just tipped Mavs over the edge. Mavs actually ended up, get this right, on 3 warnings and 2 cautions with 63 penalties to Dragons 38. So huge disparity there. And it's unusual that the team with more penalties goes on to win the game, but actually this repeats itself later on with another match this weekend. So we'll come back to that. Zaranika and Roddy led the turnovers for their respective sides with 4 each. In fact, stats-wise, it looked pretty even across the board, and this will be a real confidence booster for Mavs, who are sitting in 6th place at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, it was Rhinos versus Sirens, and Sirens unfortunately falling down in this game 45-49. And I said, this was actually something Tamsin said in commentary that I've stolen, a seesaw. There were so many times where Rhinos had a 5-goal lead and the opportunity to push on, and then Sirens just kept coming back at them, and then it just really could have gone either way. It was too close to call. The second half also, Rhinos were a lot better in terms of finding that route to goal. It did feel a little bit sticky in the first half. There were a lot of errors, balls over the goal line, things like that. Sirens missed 8 shots in the first half, which is really unfortunate, especially given that Rhinos only missed 2 for the entire game. And I think that crucial consistency was missing a bit in this one. Some moments were incredible, but other times they were just playing totally into the hands of Rhinos' defence. Fun fact, Vicky Oyasola is averaging more deflections, intercepts and turnovers than her past 2 seasons at Rhinos, despite playing in her second choice position.
Wow, what an icon.
I know. Queen.
So first up on Saturday then was Lightning versus Thunder, with Lightning coming out on top 65-57. And quite proud of this one. I've gone for frightening from Lightning.
Good one, Liz.
Thank you very much. This sounded like a ripper of a game. Gutted we couldn't watch it. It was pretty much goal for goal, except Lightning won the third quarter by 5 goals. So really crucial. Thunder actually had more turnovers than Lightning, 10-5, but they also had more unforced errors, 7-4, and a couple more missed shots, fewer rebounds. It really is just these tiny margins that can make such a big difference to the top teams. Interestingly, Rhea Dixon got the start over Thacker in this game. We've seen a lot of rotation in that goal attack position this season. She put up 5 from 6, but had 19 feeds, so was doing truckloads of work in that respect. In other news, Emma Dovey has announced that she is back from retirement and made an appearance in this game. Unfortunately for Thunder, Almond and Van der Merwe are still unavailable at the moment. So it was really impressive that Thunder were able to be right in it for the majority of that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up on Saturday, it was Storm versus Pulse, with Pulse taking the win at 59-50. And I said mid-court pressure. Now, I've chosen this 3-word summary for 2 reasons. One is genuine pressure from both midcourts, particularly the Pulse midcourt. They were piling that on in transition play. Any turnover, there was arms over that ball. They were slowing it down so much. And every Pulse player who took the court had at least 1 turnover or deflection, except JD, who had 35 feeds, so we'll let her off.
Yeah.
Pulse had 26 deflections to 12 in this game. And for Storm, SDL was getting in on the action too and ended up with 3 turnovers to her name, all in that mid-court area. The second reason was that I felt Storm were actually really feeling that pressure, particularly in the mid-court. They did not look calm with ball in hand. Mickey had 4 unforced errors and looked visibly frustrated at times. Pulse have now won the last 5 meetings against Storm, and they've secured their place in the semi-finals after this win. So huge congrats to them.
Yeah, what a game that was. First up on Sunday was Stars versus Dragons, with Stars coming away with the win 62-56. And I've gone for a missed opportunity. It was another tough game for Dragons after a narrow loss to Mavericks earlier in the weekend, but it really just is some of the basics that are letting them down. For me, I think it was a game to forget for Hannah Layton, who had 5 unforced errors, which is a third of Dragons' total. She had 5 to her name in just half a game of netball. So unusual from her to have that many. But on the positive side, Gabby Sinclair was an absolute star. She ran that attacking end for the full 60, shooting long bomb after long bomb. She was incredible. It was a really solid effort from Stars, although I think they'll actually be a little bit disappointed despite getting the win, because they really could have punished Dragons. They went up 8-1 in the opening few minutes, but then let them right back in the game and only won the first quarter by 3. So it could have been a lot worse. Yeah,
no, for sure. Next up on Monday, then, it was Mavericks versus Lightning. And talking of could have been worse, that is actually my 3-word summary for this game. Lightning won 62-50. It was a horror start for Mavericks, who went down 20-8 in the first quarter. And I mean, that's just it, isn't it? The game is basically done and dusted from there. Lightning were actually looking so good and so confident that they started emptying the bench from midway through the second quarter, which is a bit devastating. There were lots of celebrations for Mavs winning the second half, which they did. Granted, it was 31-20, but they were playing an entirely different Lightning side by that point. Perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on Mavs. They were missing Gibson from the bench, and Venter never took to court either, so not really at their full strength. And then when you consider the scoreline, you think, yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, poor old Mavs. And so penultimate game of the round then was Thunder versus Pulse. What a scorcher of a game. Pulse coming away victorious at 59-49. And 3-word summaries from Arancha on Instagram. She said, Pulse on fire. It was a huge result for Pulse against a Thunder side who admittedly have had their defence end depleted by injuries in recent weeks. This is the first time that Pulse have beaten Thunder in their club's history, and this is Thunder's joint lowest final score of this season. They also scored below 50, or 49 goals to be exact, in their loss to Storm in round 2. This is the first time that Thunder have scored single digits in a quarter this season. It was the third quarter that Pulse won 20-9, so real shocker from them. For me, like, this Pulse side have just got oodles of confidence now, and that's just the time that you want it going into the business end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, then, it was Sirens versus Bath, with Sirens taking a big win 69-47. And I said, Sirens sounding sweet.
I'll try saying that after a couple of drinks.
Sirens won every quarter in this game, picking up 13 intercepts to Bath's 5 and getting their whole squad out on court. Bath were actually missing Imogen Allison for this game due to an injury niggle, which is a real shame. She's such an important player for them in terms of that leadership as well as what she brings on court. Vincombo had 11 turnovers and Pekova had 8 in this game, so plenty of ball being turned over. There were also 22 unforced errors apiece, according to the stats sheet. So that is quite a lot, isn't it? It must be a season high. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
And this was Sirens' second highest total score of the season. Prior to this game, they were averaging 52 goals per game. So really impressive for them to put up 69 in this one and those kind of numbers. That's something that has been missing a bit for them. Speaking of shooting stats, that's hard to say. Here's a fun fact for you all. Prior to this round, Bethan Goodwin was averaging 10 goals more per game than last season and has improved her goal percentage by 3%.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, not bad. Moving on to our game of the round. So unsurprisingly, it was Thunder versus Pulse. This game, I mean, history-making game, the first time ever that Pulse have beaten Thunder. Really, really good contest. Very physical, which we'll come on to. But yeah, absolutely a really fantastic battle, I think, from these two sides. 46 feeds for Nat Metcalf. Next highest for Thunder was Christian with 13. In contrast, both Jade and Chelsea had 31 feeds apiece, so spreading that load much more evenly. I felt like the result of this was that Nat had too much work to do and Pearson went a bit missing. I think that was probably credit to the work rate of Everett and Fadoju. I think particularly Everett in the second half. This is the same issue, though, that we get in the Roses in terms of Nat, if she gets shut down, by someone like a Latanya Wilson, who's going to go really hard on her, then it puts a lot of pressure on the goal attack to step up. And I don't really feel that Pearson did that necessarily in this game. The battle between Hallie Adio and Pot Gita was so spicy. I do feel like Adio won the psychological battle for sure. And at the end of the game, her and Fumi were just running riot. Great to see Fumi back to her best after a couple quiet rounds, I think it's fair to say. She had nearly half of Pulse's turnovers to her name, 7 out of 15. But credit must be given to the full court defensive pressure that really set up their defensive end for success. This was the first time all season that Thunder have only scored single digits in a quarter, like we said in the summary. I mean, that is just massive. And Chelsea Pittman, after a couple of dodgy opening minutes, I think, she had threw a couple of balls away, went a bit awry. I think it was a breaking call, something like that. After that, she had a corker of a game. And I'm pretty sure that she had more turnovers to her name than the stats sheet actually shows. She got McKevitt, one of the best wing defenses in the league, sent to the bench. I think that was a grave error because she had way too much freedom up against Carter. I actually would have started Carter in centre, and kept McKevitt on in wing defence. That would have been my move. For Thunder, I was a bit perplexed by those changes and also bringing Huckle off because I thought she was doing a really good job on Cheen, but the ball was just coming down the court too fast for her to be able to stop it. She actually had the best stats on court for them, 3 intercepts, 8 deflections with 4 turnovers. And Bowen in GK was not the one for me. She did not have any answers, but I suppose when you're down by 8 goals, it's worth a crack.
Yeah, I think it was around that 8 goal mark, I think, that she was brought on. Like, you got nothing to lose at that point, I guess. So it's worth a shot. But for me, it just did not pay off. But I think this is probably one of the first times this season that Thunder really just did not have the strength on their bench to be able to change the game. But we have to acknowledge, like, you cannot look past the fact that they're missing Shadeen van der Merwe, Kerry Ormond, Amy Clinton's out for the season. Emma Dovey has only just come in and replaced Ellia McCormick, so she won't be at full match fitness. Jess probably a little bit off pace as well. That is a lot of experience that you're missing on court.
Yeah. And I think that's totally it. It was what they were missing, in that game. And actually, the final thing to note about this game was the penalties. That was a concern. 73 penalties against Pulse, 43 against Thunder. I mean, that is a massive, massive difference. Although Pulse got the win, they were out of play a lot of the time. And I mean, that's basically a full game's worth of penalties difference.
It is, isn't it? Like a clean game, admittedly.
Yeah,
but
it was very, very stark. That is a concern. I mean, but maybe that was a strategy, Thunder had already played this weekend. I suppose so had Pulse as well, but maybe Pulse would just get stuck in, get on the body, hassle them, wear them down. And that's what happened, especially against some of those more inexperienced players.
Yeah, but I think as well, if you look at the penalty breakdown, Pulse had a lot more penalties for their attackers than Thunder did. Liv Cheen alone had 7 penalties to her name compared to Pot Gita, who had 2, Pearson had 1, Nat Metcalf had none, whereas Berry Neal had 4, Chelsea Pittman has 3. So, it was really penalties being picked up across the entire court. And possibly
that's a result of the pressure that was being piled on. And there were a few attacking contacts just dusted in there for good measure as well. So it's difficult, isn't it? But yeah, overall, great game. Loved it. Really good watch. Shame it wasn't a bit closer at the end. I would have liked a little thriller, and I think that's quite good for finals preparation as well. But no, absolutely fantastic. One of the best games. In fact, probably the best game from Pulse this season.
Yeah, I'd say so, actually. I'd agree with you. Okay, so moving on to our play of the round, there were so many contenders this week. I think Hallie Adio was outstanding. Gabby Sinclair played a really good game. But for me, it has to go to the GOAT. It's Jade Clark. I think her game against Thunder was one of the best games that we've seen from Jade recently. To have played 2 top 4 sides in one weekend and then put out a performance like that against Thunder shows just what a queen she is. Now, if we start with the Storm game, she did have, it wasn't a perfect game from her. She did have a couple of unusual ball fumbles, but she really grew into the game. She had the most feeds on court for either team with 35. And I honestly think that Jade was a significant factor in why Mickey Austin had a really poor game. She had 4 unforced errors to her name, and she was frequently appealing to the umpires. She got a caution for intentional obstruction. It was not a great game from her, but it was because Jade won that mental battle. But she is so unflappable. Honestly, I need a masterclass from her in how to keep her cool, because she is the definition of cool-headedness. Nothing phases her, no matter how hard they hit, how frequent they are. She is just cool as a cucumber. And I think in the Thunder game as well, as we mentioned earlier, she had the joint most feeds for Pulse alongside Pittman, and she played a fantastic shutdown game. Defensively, she was in amongst it too. She had 3 deflections, one of which was a turnover, which might not be the flashiest of stats, but she does a great job at nullifying her opponents, which you can't really record on a stat sheet. She had Amy Carter and Iona Christian put against her in that Thunder game. Neither of them could even come close, really, in my opinion. And I think it just shows what an insanely good game she has, because those two are very, very good players.
Yeah. And I mean, she is the glue, I would say, for this Pulse side. And she is what keeps them together and keeps them calm when people start to flap. Yeah. And she's instrumental. The significance of how well she's playing in terms of her form at the moment also can't be understated when it comes to England selection, because I think if anyone was thinking, is she, isn't she? I think the way she's playing at the moment, she's in.
And there's obviously been a lot of discussion recently on social media around Rose's selection, particularly with the Sasha Glasgow news and all that kind of stuff. And I have seen a few people leave Jade out of their 12. And I just think, are you nuts? What are you doing?
You Absolutely not.
I honestly don't think you can.
No, sir.
Right. Coming up after the break, we chat to Mystics assistant coach, Rob Wright.
I don't know about you, Luce, but it gets to this point in the season and all I'm thinking about is getting new trainers. When you're just eyeing them up all the way through, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I love a bit of new stash, but I'm the type of person, I'll put all of these things into my basket, spend hours and hours looking around, but then I'll never actually go through with it. It just sits in my basket forevermore.
It's so true. I know, honestly, can relate. But luckily, Lovell Netball are offering a 15% discount on all first-time orders with code NETPOD15 at lovellnetball.co.uk. So you're sorted.
Yeah, and honestly, Lovell Netball is the place to go. Whatever you want, they've got absolutely everything.
Everything. Such a good range. Yeah.
So whether you're looking for trainers, you're looking for bibs, you're looking for supports, whatever you need.
Sports bras, all of that stuff.
Sports bras, exactly. They have got you covered. So don't forget, that's a 15% discount off all first-time orders with the code NETPOD15 at lovellnetball.co.uk.
Love a bit of Lovell. Oh my God.
Love a bit of Lovell.
Love a bit of Lovell. Happy shopping, guys. It is such a pleasure to welcome the assistant coach for the Mystics. It's Rob Wright. How are you doing, Rob?
Oh, I'm very good, Lucy 1 and 2.
Yeah, we often go by Lucy Squared as well. That's coined Squared, by Stacey Francis Bowman, that nickname actually for us. And so how's everything going for you over there in the ANZ season?
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we're doing all right at the moment. It's a really tight competition this year. There's 4 teams currently that can make the final. So we're one of those. So every week's fascinating from here on in. Like, we have 4 games to play before the finals, but no one's guaranteed a spot currently. So it's really exciting. Great for the spectators. not so good for coaches necessarily. I like when you win easy and you can just relax, but you don't get many of them. So we'll just keep chipping away because we're doing all right.
Yeah, and you had that extra time game as well, didn't you? So yeah, that was really, really exciting. What a cracking game. And I think the ANZ have found a really good mixture of getting those really, really competitive games, and they found the balance quite well. Obviously difficulties with the steel and stuff, but today we are not here to talk about ANZ, although we could probably talk to you all day about it. We wanted to take a deep dive into your coaching career and your journey so far as a coach from right back at the very beginning. And you are a very well-known figure in the netball scene and have a reputation for being one of the most technical coaches in the game, having worked in coaching roles on both sides of the Tasman. So we understand that you played netball in high school before getting into coaching. So who was it that first got you interested in the game?
Well, I probably should add I was absolute rubbish.
As am I, Rob.
If I could get sued for pretending to be a netball player, that would have been me. I was dreadful. So you've got to know your limitations. But who got me into it was my mum. So my mum was involved in netball all her life, and I used to tag along when I was a real youngster, so like 10 or so. I'd go to netball like on the Saturday with her like for club stuff, and then rep netball was sort of on the Sunday, so I'd tag along to that. So I spent this period of time like watching the game and fascinated by it. Didn't get it. I thought I got it, but I watched a lot. And yeah, so my mum was absolutely my inspiration, and she got me well and truly hooked.
Well, I'm very glad that she did, because obviously, you've come on an incredible journey to where you are now. But in those early days, you had some challenges. We know that in your last year at high school, you had a very serious accident and you were hit by a car while cycling and required a lot of rehab due to the head injury that you sustained. So you then took up coaching around that time, and as you couldn't play, obviously. So how difficult was it to make the transition to being on the sidelines, particularly given that it was actually forced on you rather than your own choice?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, isn't it? And I'm a big believer in karma. I mean, luckily I wasn't killed. However, the beauty
you
of
say that
is,
so casually, like, oh, I walked away alive.
Yeah, like I've been run over twice. So those times didn't end particularly well. So I just thought it wasn't my time. And look, the thing about it, I wasn't very good at much, really. Like I played different sports, but I was really average at best at all of them. So I was never going to be any good at any of them. So it gave me an opportunity to spend more time watching, observing, and starting my coaching journey. So, because who knows? I don't know whether that's the path I would have chosen, but I certainly loved the game, and I'd been involved watching it for like probably close to a decade. And so it gave me the opportunity to go, oh, this is really interesting. And that's where it started. And so I decided, I might try and do even a deeper dive. So I did a degree in coaching because I really liked it and I wanted to learn more about it. Clearly, I did all the coaching levels through Netball Australia. So just to give me some more knowledge, because especially coming from me being rubbish at everything, like from a playing point of view, I didn't know a lot. And in some ways, maybe that's good because I couldn't rely on what I had been taught because I was rubbish. So what I did is I needed other people to help me. And I was really fortunate. A couple of coaches, and I always like to acknowledge them. So Julie Fitzgerald gave me my start in the ANZ Championship. Anita Keelan, who I've worked with, gave me my real first start in like state league before I moved into the higher ranks. And Jill McIntosh was my mentor through getting through to like high performance. So those three coaches and my mum. So the four are truly why I'm here. Without them, I wouldn't be here, because I was really fortunate. They were really willing to give me opportunities, share their knowledge, be really honest as well. Like if there's things, I wasn't very good at or needed to work on, they'd tell me, because you need honest people.
Yeah.
And, they're magnificent people, fantastic people and magnificent coaches. So I was very fortunate, and that's how I got in, really. And so it's a bit of luck. I remember when I applied for my first state coaching position, this is probably dating me now. Like back then, I applied for an assistant coach role, and no one wanted to be an assistant coach back then. Like it was like a dirty word being an assistant coach, but I was thinking, well, I'll do it. So I reckon when I applied for this role, I don't reckon that anyone else applied. So I probably got in by luck. But, and that's going back to, that was 1999 when I first got my first New South Wales coaching role. And you need a bit of luck. And I think I was really fortunate that I must have been the only person who applied. I was thinking I didn't know a lot, but they thought, oh, well, I'll give you a go. And they did. So, and I was really fortunate. And that was working with Anita Keelan, who was the head coach of the New South Wales 19 and under team at the time. And we won nationals that year. And then the following year, I got my very first head coach position with New South Wales. And that was at 17 and under level. And we won that year as well. So it was a really nice start, but I was fortunate because people helped me. And I'll never forget that. My mum always told me, never forget where you've come from and always acknowledge the people that help you along the way. So I live by that, and I make sure I always do that.
Oh, I really love that. And what really stuck out to me there was what you said about the honesty thing, and how you had people around you who were really honest with you about what you were good and weren't good at, because I think that's so important. And then if you have those people that you can rely on, if they do tell you you're good at something, you can really believe it, because it's otherwise you're just surrounded by people who are just telling you things that you want to hear, and then you're not going to actually kind of grow and develop. But I think as well, you said that you weren't very good at netball. We don't know if that's true. We haven't watched you play.
Oh, it's true.
But even with that you were able to find the pathway into coaching, because I think a lot of people get put off if they're not the best at something, at doing something. They don't necessarily get funneled into those other routes. So I think it's really important in terms of a pathway perspective that we're growing our young netballers, that maybe they're not quite right for being on the court, but actually they've got all those skills to be off it as well, and really developing that. So I think it's fascinating, the journey that you've been on. And you mentioned the New South Wales Swifts there. So fast forward 2014, and you were the first male head coach in the Trans-Tasman competition, leading the New South Wales Swifts, of course. And this appointment meant that you made history as the first male head coach in the ANZ. In an article with the Sydney Morning Herald, you said, if there was going to be a first male in the ANZ Championship, I'm glad it's me. To coach in the world's best domestic league is a huge honour, regardless of whether you're male or female. In the article also, it said that you don't view yourself as a trailblazer. But the fact is, you kind of were, as you sort of carved out a bit of a slice of history by doing that. Why did you not view yourself as a trailblazer at the time?
Oh, I think there's a couple of male coaches that are truly the trailblazers. One of them, unfortunately, has passed away. His name was John Belton from South Australia. He was the very first high-performance male coach in Australia. And John Fletcher from Tasmania. They were high-performance coaches and working at those high levels probably 10 or 15 years before I was. So to me, they're the trailblazers. They're the ones who really probably put male coaches on the map. And the thing about both of them, extraordinarily good. Like when they were around starting out, like you had to be better than good to get in, because, to earn people's respect and to get to where they had got to, I was thinking they were incredibly good. So they're the trailblazers. I was probably fortunate, and spend a lot of time with John Fletcher as well. So he is another one I probably really should mention, because, again, he gave me massive opportunity and I was able to learn a whole heap from him. Like, I always think if I knew half as much as them, I would be doing pretty good.
That's amazing. It's becoming like an Oscars acceptance speech here now, Rob. I've got to thank this person. I've got to thank this person. But
you never make it without the help of a lot of people. And I always, when I hear people talk, I was thinking, I think it's so important to recognise the people who helped you, because you can't do it alone.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And the netball family is so crucial and important. And in that time since you took over at the Swifts, so that was 2014. So it's been nearly 10 years now since that. As far as I can think of off the top of my head, we've only had one other male coach at that level in the ANZ and SSN as it is now. Why do you think that there's only been one other coach, obviously Dan Ryan, who we've spoken to on the podcast previously? Do you think that the system is not set up for men to come through the pathways as much, or is there kind of more progress that needs to be done in that area? How would you assess how the system looks for males coming in to coach?
I actually think, and this is where I think netball is a real leader. Like, if you look at other sports, like, there's not a female coach in the AFL in over 130 years. There's no female coach in the NRL. They've been probably going 100 years. Netball is the exception. They all talk about, it's going to be so great having a female coach. Well, they still haven't got them. Certainly not in those roles. And netball has them. Like, that's incredible. So I think and there's now I think there's a number of high performance coaches. I think I was the fourth, ever. I'm not sure how many there are now. There might be 10 male coaches. I'm not quite sure. But to me, there's not a lot of opportunities, and you've got to earn them. You shouldn't just be given it. I always thought, being a male, I shouldn't just be given a role because I'm male. I'm really against that. I've got to be good enough as a coach, not good. And that's why, even in that 2014 article, I didn't want to be recognised for being a male coach. I wanted just to be recognised as a coach in the ANZ Championship, because to get there is phenomenal. And so I think there's massive opportunity. Even if you look at umpiring, how many male umpires are there in all the major leagues in the world? How many sports can actually put their hand up and say, look what we're actually doing? In all those other codes, again, there might be one or two, and they make a huge song and dance about how wonderful they are, and yet it's week in, week out. They're everywhere in the best competitions in the world in netball. Like, netball should stick their hand up and go, "You think you're all right? We've got you covered."
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, because I think that there's a lot of criticisms that people have of netball and the different leagues around the world, but actually there's lots of things that we do well that I don't think we recognise ourselves for. So I think it's really, really important that we do actually acknowledge that. And I think
that's true. And actually, sorry, Lucy, to interrupt you, just contradicting what I kind of just said, there's only 8 teams in the SSN and 6 over in the ANZ. So actually, in terms of to be at that very top, there is very, very limited opportunities. And
absolutely,
it has to be the best person regardless of gender.
Yeah.
And I think the male female split in terms of umpires, like, is obviously we have a lot more male umpires than we do male coaches, but it just shows that actually it is quite an accessible sport. And I think there's still obviously room for improvement, 100%, but let's celebrate the things that we do well. But I think for you, Rob, you are obviously one of the elite male coaches that we do have. And you specifically, we learned, have an incredible memory for detail. And you can remember really specific quarter by quarter information or plays from games that you watched. It's not quite a photographic memory, but something close. And you've described yourself as being, quote unquote, a bit odd in relation to this skill. But I think it sounds like an incredible gift and a particularly useful one for coaching as well.
how I remember stuff, it's quite unusual. So I transfer information to sound to memorize it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember everything I say.
Okay.
So if I see something, if I repeat it, so I repeat it out loud, so I transfer it that way, so I can then recall it. So I don't see it, I hear it.
And how did you learn that was what you could do?
That's a good question. I have zero idea how that happened. But yeah, when I would learn things, I started to speak stuff. So often when someone tells me something, I'll repeat it back to them. And they're probably thinking, why are you doing that? But I'm doing it so I can remember it. So if someone showed me, it's like if someone shows me a phone number, if I just look at it, I won't remember it. But if I repeat the number out loud, then it's set.
So how does that translate then to specific plays on court? Because obviously that's something that you're watching. Do you then say to yourself, this person did this roll around the body, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So I will, not out loud, but I can do it where I'll talk to myself the actions to actually remember what happened play by play.
That is fascinating. I absolutely love that, and the different learning styles that humans have. So with that way of learning, would you say that that obviously impacts the way that you coach, I would imagine. Would you say that you go more by like the look and feel of a game from when you see a specific play in a particular setup, rather than focusing on like the stats and the data? Does it impact the way that you coach?
Oh, I like data as well. I love my numbers, because clearly I can remember numbers very easily. So I try and use both. And I'm a very big believer in that people have real strengths and you want to try and build on those strengths. And it doesn't matter if those strengths are a bit weird or a bit odd. So even the very best players in the world are often different. They're not like everyone else, and you don't want to stifle them. You want to enhance that and really let them flourish. So they'll do things that are different, but instead of going, oh, that's different, or that's not textbook, or that's not how most people do it works. And just an example, like Shamira Sterling clearly is probably the one defender in the world that can sit behind shooters but win ball over the top of them. But no one else can do it consistently. And it doesn't mean she should do it all the time. But there's things that she can do that no one else does, and you probably wouldn't necessarily teach it. However, they're phenomenal at it. So build upon that rather than try and squash them. They're the best for a reason, and when you're often the best, you're often different.
Yeah, I mean, Lenise Potgieter is another one who springs to mind of that example with her unique shooting style, and obviously
absolutely
not the way that you would coach someone to do it, but you know what, if it works for you, it works for you. So embrace that. And I think another one of the sort of the netball greats that we speak about is obviously Shani Layton. You recruited Shani to the Swifts in 2014, and she referenced you in her book, No Apologies, which definitely recommend reading for anyone listening who hasn't yet. And you're quoted as saying, Shani Layton, you are good, but you are not great. Your footwork needs a lot of work. If you come to Sydney, I'll work with you to make you the best defender in the world, which arguably Shani did become in her playing days. So as a coach, as well as those kind of unique sort of je ne sais quoi that make people what they are as a player, what are kind of the core skills or the attributes or the attitudes that you look for when sort of working with players?
Probably the key ones for me is someone who looks to be involved when it really matters. And it's those very best players. I was thinking, like when you really need to win a ball, who wins a ball? Shamira Sterling. Who wins a ball? A Shani Layton. Who takes a shot when you really need a shot? Someone like a Sherelle McMahon. They're the people who want the ball in their hands. They've got enough confidence and enough skill that they go, give it to me, I'm going to win the game. So it's that courage. So they've obviously got the skill. They're incredibly good athletes, but it's that mindset to go, I'm going to do this off my own bat. And often they're super competitive. Like you look at a Shamira Sterling, like she has game face. She doesn't like to lose, doesn't like losing. And so you see it every time she goes out there, like she's, heaven help when, if they ever lose games, like she's not going to be happy. And all those champions are like that. And I think it goes across sports, so that you can rely on this person. And that's the other thing that they do. They bring everyone else along. So even though they're incredibly good, they bring all those people around them, with them. So to me, it's that mindset of, I'm incredibly fierce and I'm going to find a way to win. Within the rules, because I do like to play really fair and clean. Don't mind hard, but you want to play within the rules. And I always encourage any player I coach that, that's a must. You want to win and beat the very best in the world, but you want to be able to do it and not anyone go, oh, gee, that's, you're dirty or you're whatever. So that's important for me.
Yeah, no, that's really fascinating. And actually, I think there's something that ties together all those players that you named, and it is that really kind of special innate passion for the game. And Laura Langman as well sprung to mind when you were listing those kind of characteristics as someone who was absolutely like that and kind of would die for the ball and for the team and bring all those people along with them, and that kind of leadership as well. And you've obviously coached a number of fantastic players in your time, and you moved from coaching the Swifts to 2 grand final appearances in 2015 and 2016 over to the Collingwood Magpies, where your team was peppered with superstars, I think it's fair to say, and you were the assistant coach there before taking on the head coach role for 2 years. So what prompted the move from Sydney to Melbourne?
Oh, look, and I've never talked about this. So I had some real mental health issues in 2017, quite severe. I shouldn't say quite severe, so severe. I've never mentioned that ever. And I was in an incredibly bad place at that time. And so I decided to step away from the Swifts because, life had become incredibly difficult. So I went to the Magpies because it was the opportunity came up after I left the Swifts, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to go somewhere different because it was a club that wasn't owned by a netball association, and that really fascinated me to be able to do something different with a club that wasn't aligned from an association point of view. The worst decision of my life. So, incredibly bad decision by me to go there. However, two good things came from that, only 2. Of course, I recruited 2 Jamaicans to the team when I took over as head coach. It gave me the opportunity to then be able to work with Jamaica. So how fortunate is that? Because I did want to get involved in international netball. I wasn't sure how that would pan out or whether it would actually happen, but I got that opportunity through them. So I'm incredibly fortunate and incredibly grateful to Netball Jamaica for the opportunity because I love working with them. And the other thing it did is obviously it worked out very badly. I was a failure at Collingwood. No, hands down. No stress. Put my hand up. Yep, complete rubbish. All of my own making. But it gave me the opportunity to come to Mystics. Because an opportunity came up and the chalk and cheese, the difference. I went to Mystics and felt part of the organisation, incredible organisation. I felt like I was part of the family. The players are wonderful. They embraced me from day one, and I'm odd. I'm odd.
All the best people are, Rob.
Yeah.
But I take that to a completely new level. And the thing about what Mystics do incredibly well is that they're a really eclectic bunch of players and they embrace you for who you are. And that is so empowering. So I felt like, I can just be myself, completely weird, and they love it. And the thing about it is I then take people as I find them. So if they're really odd, I love it because I was thinking, I want you to be yourself because it was the best piece of coaching advice I ever got. It was from Anita Keelan. When I first got my head coaching role with the New South Wales 17s back in 2000, she said, be yourself, just be yourself. And I've never forgotten it. So every time I work with any coaches, I always remind them of that gem of information because it's held me through all that time. Because if you try and be someone you're not, that's a recipe for disaster. And it's not always going to work out. But so my time at Collingwood was horrific. But wow, it gave me two magnificent things. Like it's the old karma.
Yeah.
I was thinking it didn't work out for a reason. And I've learned a whole lot around that. I go, okay, well, why didn't that work out? So I look at myself really close and go, okay, I need to change this, keep this, because it's just about being better. I always want to be better, and I've still got a long way to go. Like I feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing okay, but there's so many more things I want to keep improving. So how wonderful that was a complete disaster because it's allowed me now to hopefully now even be a better coach than I was back then.
Wow. Rob, I'm overwhelmed actually by your honesty with yourself and the fact that you're able to say, yep, that was bad. It wasn't great, and really own that.
Terrible.
But also transform that into a positive. And before we talk a little bit more about the Magpies, if that's okay, I just want to obviously pause on the fact that you did mention there that you have gone through some serious mental health issues. And I know that's not an easy thing to share. And so I just wanted to thank you for your honesty and openness in that. Do you think that there's more that netball and elite sport environments can do to support coaches in that off-court capacity in terms of their mental health?
When that was all happening, Netball New South Wales knew all about that. So I was probably disappointed that, because I probably got attacked when I left the Swifts, and not that information never went out about what was going on. But that's okay. I just think that's the thing. But I probably wouldn't have survived 2017. That's how bad things were.
Gosh, Rob, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I ended up in like a emergency psychiatric facility because that was real. Yeah, it was bad. But that's life. I never spoke about that. So there was lots of people absolutely laying into me who still don't know that information. To this day, like obviously I'm on some fairly serious medication because of all that stuff. But hey, it probably just makes me a bit more odd. And the thing is, I hope people don't view me any less for that. I don't know, they might, who knows? But all I want to do is my mum taught me this, is I just want to help people be better. If I can make a netballer be better, and if I can make some people the best in the world, how cool.
Yeah. I actually think it's incredible for you to share that, because so many people will be going through similar experiences and facing their own challenges with mental health. And the fundamental thing to realize, I think, when you're in that kind of situation is you're not on your own. And actually by sharing that, you're you're opening up that community. And I think more and more conversations are starting to happen now in terms of mental health, but it is still a barrier, particularly for men. And we know that is a huge risk for, statistics around male suicide and all sorts of things, that men don't often feel able to reach out. And so I think your bravery in sharing that is really, really inspiring, and we thank you.
You probably thought, God, that's not going to be in this interview, but I've never mentioned it to anyone. Like, wow, I just think it makes you who you are, and
exactly.
I hope that hopefully makes me a better person eventually.
100%.
And it's part of your story as well. It's everyone has their own stuff going on that we don't often see, and that's okay, and that they can be going on with that, but everyone should remember that and have compassion, because we don't know what's going on for people behind closed doors and behind the scenes.
No, I was only sleeping like an hour a day in 2017, so it was dark.
I mean,
here I am.
But I mean, thank you so much for your candor and for being so open and for sharing that with us. Like you said, you've never shared that publicly before,
I've literally never shared it. That's a world exclusive.
I mean, thank you so much for trust. But honestly, though, thank you for trusting us to share your story. But I can't tell you how much that means to us. But what I'd sort of taken away from this is actually the beauty now that you feel, having gone through all of that, you are able to be your full and truest self and to embrace the oddness, as you call it, and the sort of uniqueness that makes you you. And to see how you look so happy now, the way you talk about your coaching journey, your time in the Mystics now, you look so genuinely happy, and it's a joy to now, with the context of what you've just told us, to see you in this position now. So and
it is a joy. That is the absolute word, Lucy. It is absolute joy, because I've always got, there's lots of people who hate me, but hopefully there's a lot of people that also go, well, he's all right. He's odd, he's different, but and that's cool. The other bit of advice I always got told was, never listen to people that you're not interested in getting advice from. Yeah. So the people I trust, I'm going to listen to them, even if they tell you stuff like, "Oh, you didn't do that very well." That's good. I want to be better, and sometimes that means you got to hear stuff that you don't want to hear.
Yeah, 100%.
We expect it of our players. Sometimes we tell our players stuff. You go, we've got to be better. But if you truly love people or you truly care about them, how do you make them better? Sometimes you got to go, well, hang on, we're good here, but if you just did this, you'd be amazing.
Yeah. And actually an instance for me that springs to mind when you say that was, you'll probably remember it well, the conversation you had with Kelsey Brown during, I think it was the 2019 SSN season.
2019 season, yeah.
And she asked, it was a quarter tactical timeout, and she asked for some positive feedback, and you're like, well, I can't give you any because you're not doing any. And I think for me personally, the reaction at that time, I think it was blown way out of proportion. It just seemed like a really frank and honest conversation to me. And yes, it was off the back of a World Cup loss. So, putting all of that into context, maybe Kelsey needed a little bit more of an arm around the shoulder. But I think though that ability to have really frank and open and honest conversations is absolutely crucial. And you actually reflected on it at the time and said, maybe I wouldn't have done it that way again. And I think that shows great self-awareness again. But as a coach, how do you personally build those kind of key relationships with players that enables you and empowers you to have those frank and honest conversations?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I totally agree with you. I thought Channel 9's coverage of it was appalling.
Yeah.
I thought they blew it absolutely out of it. So the commentators, the media, I was thinking I should have been a Channel 9 employee by the time that all happened. And the thing that they never spoke about, so Kelsey and I have a magnificent relationship, and that's the key. And it's the reason why other sports, AFL, all those sports do not allow people to listen into those conversations. Netball doesn't have the power all the guts to be able to go, no, you can't listen in on that we're a bit beholden to the media. But the thing that they missed was that Kelsey came out and was magnificent in the second half.
Yeah.
And we wanted to actually, she spoke about, why don't we do a thing? I'm going to bring in a cup into your office and go, oh, look, there's a storm in your teacup. But they actually wouldn't let us do it because they thought it might keep prolonging it. But I was getting abused in the supermarket off the back of that. People were coming up to me and abusing me. And people, all the keyboard warriors were right into it, going, how brutal. I was thinking, have you have a look at some of the coaches in AFL and their conversations that you cannot hear? And interestingly, at the time, Kelsey's partner was an AFL footballer, and he was going, there's nothing in that. We have those conversations every day.
Yeah.
But Channel 9 made it out to be like, I thought I'd killed someone. I'd do it differently. But, I could have put it much more tactfully. So, I acknowledge that. And more so because the absolute circus that followed it. And people still talk about it. And it was one conversation.
Yeah.
But again, I acknowledge that, hey, I could have done that a whole lot better. I make a whole lot of mistakes, and I've never shied away from going, I made a mistake. But everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Often you just don't have. We had a great sign at work that said a tough day at the office is even tougher when it comes with spectator seating.
Yeah.
And, and everyone's got an opinion. They go, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have done that. Oh, that's terrible, And I was thinking, you haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And as an example, Greg Popovich, who coaches San Antonio Spurs, legendary coach, but his basketball feedback is brutal. But he works incredibly hard to make sure the relationships with all his players are super strong, because it's about the basketball that he's brutal on. But they all know that he's coming from a place of care, because he builds those relationships really strongly. And I work really hard to make sure that, with every player I coach, that I find out about them. I'll have conversations that are talk crap. I'll talk about other stuff, that they do. I obviously I'm not mates with them or not friends with them, but I also want to make sure that, we'll have conversations. And I love when players give me stick, like Phoenix Caracas, always at me. She'll always gives me stick every training session. And there's lots of players that do the same thing. And I was thinking, how cool is it that they're comfortable enough to absolutely give it to me? Because I was thinking, that's really cool. I was thinking, I'm doing something all right. Because I don't want people to be worried about offending me or saying the wrong thing, or that they're worried about what I'm going to say. I was thinking, I want them to love what they do. They get to play netball as a profession. And I want to make that experience as good as possible, because I also know from experience, how when life's hard, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's fascinating hearing the inside info on how you actually kind of build those relationships, because we see kind of, as fans and as spectators, we see such a tiny sliver of actually what goes on behind the scenes. And then often things are kind of extrapolated from there. And I think that's why you get the sort of situation like you had with that incident. And there was some kind of very cruel news articles after you left the Magpies as well, and things like that. And what have you learned in your coaching career about how to handle the kind of savage nature of media attention and that external factor?
Oh, look, one of the things that I've always done is I don't engage in social media. I'm probably, because I'm old probably as well, but, at the end of the day, the people I want to talk to or listen to, I'll I'll speak to them like you guys, because, you're genuine and honest and you're there for the right reasons. And the people who care about me, I'll listen to them. Other people are going to always have an opinion, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. As I said, I put my hand up and go, I was rubbish, complete failure at Collingwood. So no stress there. So if people, and I remember there was someone told me, and it was on one of those forums, I think, there was a fan who was calling for my sacking the day after my mum died.
Oh, geez.
In 2019. I was thinking, they must be a nice person. But I was thinking, and that's why I don't engage in that stuff, because I was thinking, don't tell me that, and that was in 2019 that my mum passed away, and that was tough. That was really tough. So it was a really difficult period of my life as well. But wow, if I hadn't gone through that absolute disaster, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. So I'm always thankful for that. There's always good people, and there's always people that will help you. So, and that's what I've always banked on, and that's why I try and make sure that I can try and do that as well. Like I've been helped all along my journey, and so I feel it's incumbent on me to make sure that people treated me really well and really helped me. So I'm going to do the same.
Yeah, I think you have, absolutely. Even just from this conversation, I've learned so much about you, and it's really shifted my perspective and been such a reminder of you never know what people have got going on as well behind the scenes. And after the Magpies, you obviously went over to the ANZ competition and you took up your current role as assistant coach at the Mystics, which we know that you're absolutely loving, which is brilliant. And we noticed a parallel here from your previous coaching journey when you moved from being head coach of the Swifts to assistant coach at the Magpies. So how did you find the transition from head coach to assistant coach? Is there much of a distinction there for you, or are you just out there to help the players regardless of your title?
Definitely the second. It's regardless of the title. And I always remember Nat Medhurst always spoke about that. She thought that, I certainly didn't have a big ego. And I hope I don't. I don't care what you call me, as in what role I am, whether it's assistant or specialist or, hangers honour. If I can help, that's all I care about. I don't care what I'm called. It's never been why I coach. The only reason I coach is because I want to make a difference. I want to make people better, and clearly, defensive, I love my defenders. I've always loved my defenders because they're always hard done by and the rules aren't set up for them, especially the current short pass rule. So don't get me started on that.
And defending out of court.
Oh,
that one as well. If the attackers can go and readjust, why can't they follow them?
Yeah, exactly right. But I just want to make a difference, and I think I'm so grateful and so fortunate that I get to do a job that I absolutely love. Every day is different. I get to work with an amazing group of athletes all the time. Like, I love the players; they're so cool. Like, in all my teams, generally, like, they've been really cool, and so fortunate to be able to do that as a job. Like, often, lots of people have to work because you need money, et cetera, et cetera. So how cool! And I'll never take any of that for granted, because who knows what would have happened after the Magpies. I was thinking, everyone thinks I'm rubbish now, so we'll see what happens. But an interview opportunity came up. It was the hardest interview I've ever done, mind you, at Mystics. It was incredibly hard. But fortunately, I got the position, and that's where I am to this day.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And we know as well as your domestic competitions, you've also had some international coaching experience. You previously supported Aussie Diamonds in Fast Five, and of course a specialist defensive coach for Jamaica at the Commonwealth Games. And like, when this appointment came out, I was absolutely delighted. Like, I was really surprised as well. It wasn't the appointment that I was expecting. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this came about and what you've learned from working with the Jamaican athletes?
Yeah, really interesting. Because I spoke to Jodie and to Shimona around, who coaches Jamaica? Like, who's the coaching staff at Jamaica? And obviously Connie was the head coach, but there was no other coach. So I was thinking, this is interesting. So it gave me an opportunity to actually put some feelers out to Jamaica. Nothing really happened for about a year, but then all of a sudden we had some contact around that, and then we had some more dialogue, and then the opportunity to come in as a specialist defence coach came up, because obviously Connie, icon, famous player, a very attacking coach. So it was probably a really good fit. I was, again, lucky. It was a real opportunity, and I was thinking, just knowing I'd never coached Jodie, but I'd never coached Kayan. I've coached a lot against her. Shamira and Latanya, well, I'd never coached them. And the day I met them, they were incredible. Like, they're good, right? They're incredible. They're world class, but they want to keep getting better. And I love it, because I was thinking they're always looking at, what do I do? How do I get better? How do I get better? So I was thinking, this is an absolute dream. Got these phenomenal players who are just looking to go, okay, how do I get my game to the next level?
And I think, we've seen the growth, particularly of the Jamaican defenders now. And I think the impact that you've had on that team is absolutely visible. And my God, are they flying? Like, the prospect as an English fan, of coming up against them is truly terrifying. But we know that in your capacity as assistant coach for Jamaica, you were volunteering at Commonwealth Games. So incredibly generous on your part as such an experienced coach. But it really highlighted to us when we did a post-match interview with you at Com Games, the significant disparity of the resources between the top nations. So as a sport, how do you think that we can reach greater parity when, different nations and different governments, they all value and view women's sport very differently? How do you think we can get to a level of greater parity?
That's a really good question. And I even look at the recent development around World Netball allowing those additional 3 players to come into like a squad, and then if someone gets injured or ill and they're out, they can get replaced. Excellent, outstanding move, because it's archaic that, you could have 12 players, and if one, you look at Layla Guskoff at the last World Championships, I kept thinking, as soon as she went down injured, I was thinking England had gone.
Yeah.
Because I thought they went into that tournament, I thought, a fraction light defensively, and then they lost her. She was playing outstandingly well, and I was thinking, that's so unfair, and the rules didn't allow her to be replaced. So I love that they've made that move. The problem for me is that Australia, New Zealand, England can all afford to have 3 extra players and pay for them. I assume they're paying for them, and they've obviously got the depth to do it. South Africa, because it's in South Africa, can do it. I'm not sure any other team in the world can possibly afford to do it, or possibly have the depth to do it. So it makes the very top teams even further away than everyone else. But it's absolutely the right move. What should be happening, World Netball should be going, right, we're going to pay for those 3 players for every nation going, so you don't have to find it. I bet they're not, is my gut feel. I'm hoping I'm wrong, so apologies to World Netball if you are actually paying for those things. I'm happy to put up a written apology saying I got it wrong, because that's what should happen. I worry for netball a little bit. You look at Australia now, the big codes bankroll their women's sports. Netball's no longer the biggest paying sport in Australia for women. And astoundingly, I believe they're not looking to increase the salary cap on the next agreement. Now, I'm hoping I'm absolutely wrong, because that is appalling. Like, if netball stands still, they're going backwards.
Yeah.
And I believe, like at underage nationals, the 17s, 19s and 17 under nationals, AFL have a criteria of players that they can pick up 3 players from outside the sport that don't affect like the numbers or the salary cap, I think, and they can put them into their thing. And I believe that it starts at $40,000 to be able to pick up these youngsters from other sports. And they were the AFL scouts were at nationals. Looking at players going, that'd be a good ruck.
Wow.
And you look at the money that they can pour into, so AFL, cricket, rugby union, rugby league, netball doesn't have that. So they've got to find a way, because otherwise, we're not going to become irrelevant, because, its participation is enormous, but you've got to keep finding a way to move forward. And because at the moment, I'm not sure whether netball can compete with those sports.
Yeah,
and
fascinating.
We're in trouble if that's the case. Really, if we're serious, we want to get this game into the Olympics.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny you say that, Rob. We had a conversation with the CEO of England Netball and Netball Scotland last week about transforming the game and progressing the game. And I think it's such a problem area, and we're seeing it over here in England as well as in Australia. And we're what we would consider kind of the top netball nations. Imagine kind of in other areas in the world where, I mean, we're seeing people, teams crowdfunding for the World Cup. Uganda being fined for not being. Yeah,
exactly.
It's massive. And so it's a huge thing, but I think the best thing we can all do is keep, spreading the good word of netball and doing what we're doing to promote the sport and try and drive that investment and drive that change. But it is really going to be a collective effort to get everyone across the line and to keep the talent in our sport and not being transferred to other sport. That's terrifying about the scouts from the AFL at the netball trials. I like barring the doors, saying no, you can't come in.
We have such an incredible game. How good is it? And I think sometimes netball television doesn't do netball justice. You cannot actually understand how athletic, how physical, how quick the game is unless you're actually there. It appears a lot slower on television than it actually is. So our players they're phenomenal in all these countries. I'm just so proud about how wonderful they are. They are absolute role models. They are absolute people that people look up to. They're so inspiring. And yet people don't want to get behind that stuff. I can't believe it. We're doing something wrong.
No, it's true.
I look at these people and go, they're phenomenal.
Yeah. Especially the ones who are doing it despite the odds, if that makes sense. At the top nations, there's a lot of infrastructure and support around players. And so you expect success and you expect them to flourish. But when people are doing that with literally the limited resources, I mean, we've mentioned before on the podcast at the Commonwealth Games, Jamaica had one physio for Team Jamaica, not just the netball, all the Jamaican sports. And, it's up to people to like yourself. And it's a great credit to people like yourself that you are supporting that and driving the sport forwards by sharing your time and expertise with those nations. And
almost set me broke.
Yeah, it's true.
I literally had to take 4 months off work.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm really grateful to Mystics to actually allow me to go, but obviously wasn't earning money.
Yeah.
But I still have to pay rent for that time in Auckland, etc. Auckland's not the cheapest place to live at the best of times.
Yeah, exactly. And so it comes at a great sacrifice, I think, the work that yourself and all the coaches put in to try and grow and develop the game. And it is amazing. And I think we're seeing the benefits of that in the global game now. And obviously you're still coaching at the Mystics now, and you've loved working with Jamaica. We don't know if you're working with them again this year, but beyond that, what are your future aspirations in coaching?
Yeah, good question. I just love coaching. So I'm hoping that there's always somewhere that might want me. and that I can make a difference. And I love being involved in international netball. I've always said I would love to coach with Dame Nolene, whether that was in domestically or internationally. We have some great conversations. I just like, very different to me, much kinder than I am, I think. But, she's a winner. I think I could learn a whole heap off her. I'm not sure she'd learn anything off me, not sure about that one. But yes, I want to continue being involved in international netball. And don't get me wrong, like I wouldn't have swapped the Commonwealth Games experience. I wouldn't have met you two. Because how cool is it? I got to go to the opening ceremony. The crowd in Birmingham, I thought were actually in Kingston, Jamaica most of the time. Like they were just so amazing. I'm hoping that there'll always be that domestic competition opportunity, because I love training. I can't get enough of training. I always go into this little panic when we don't get to train, because I love training. I want to make people better. And the game's good. The girls love the game, but give me the training, and then because that's where we do the work to win our games. So hopefully I keep staying involved. We'll never know now. After people probably think I'm some sort of complete crazy person now.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I don't know.
Not at all.
No. Oh, well, Rob, we hope you stay involved in the game. I mean, before this interview, we had a lot of respect for you and thought you were a great coach. And now hearing you speak so openly and candidly, my opinion of you has even further raised. So thank you for your openness.
Good. I like when people speak nicely of me.
Yeah, we do.
I don't care if they don't, but...
Exactly, but that's
you're
how
an absolute credit to the game. Absolute credit to the game. Like you're such a unique character, and these are the things that enrich our sport, and we need to embrace them and bring them into the fold. And you are absolutely phenomenal. And thank you so much for your time with us today. It's been truly a pleasure.
I apologise. We've gone over time, but that's my thing. I do like a chat, and
so do we. It's all good.
No, it is a pleasure, Rob. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Hopefully, I'll get to see you, because I know you guys are going to Worlds. Hopefully, I'll get to go to Worlds, and we'll keep
dinner.
Yeah, we'll go for a glass of wine.
Cool.
Yeah. Amazing.
Cool.
Take care.
No worries. Thank you.
Wow.
What a conversation with Rob. I mean, I have to say, I said it at the end, but I really respected him as a coach, and now I think even more understanding the context of what was going on for him, it just makes you realize what a special person he is to have in our game. And it even kind of, when you line up someone's coaching profile and you see like a history of their coaching record, usually it's kind of achievement, but he was able to characterize the Magpies experience as such a failure, effectively. Well, in his own words, in his own words, he said that was a failure, and to be able to admit that and learn from that mistake and those mistakes that he made shows incredible growth, which is just so inspiring.
Well, I think it's like that the old cliche saying, isn't it? Failure is just the first attempt in learning. But actually to have the kind of is it self-awareness? I'm not sure what it is, but to go like, yeah, that sucked. Like I was rubbish. Like that was terrible. I really struggled to do that. And I hate
but
the
I
idea
think more people should do that. More people should accept, because also I think that is how you grow, and that's how you realize, okay, I'm not good at this, but actually this person is, so let's get them in to do that element of it, and then I can bring what I uniquely bring, not trying to do everything that I'm not good at as well.
Yeah. What are your strengths? What are your super strengths? And then going into a role that's more tailored to you. Yeah. But I think like how amazing to see. Or like I said earlier, like how happy did he look on that call? Obviously, you guys can't see the video, but he just looked so genuinely happy. And what a joy it is to see that and to hear that, having known what he's gone through.
Yeah, he is full of joy, and it's infectious, actually.
What a legend.
He's been through it. Wow. What a great guy.
Mm.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Qtr Time podcast. We cannot wait to bring you even more netball chat and another super special guest next week.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media at Qtr Time Pod for the latest netball updates. Do get involved in the conversation online by letting us know what you thought of the matches this weekend and which players have stood out for you.
We would also really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review, as it helps other people to find our podcast. If you enjoy listening to the pod, please do let us know and send us your feedback on this episode as well. Rob's not on social media, so he won't see if anyone says any nice things about him. So send them to us and we will make sure to pass them on, as I'm sure if you're anything like us, then this conversation will have had a really big impact. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to take advantage of our exclusive 15% discount with Lovell Netball by entering the code. Sorry for the listeners, Lucy's just muted herself and is sneezing violently. Anyway,
I muted myself.
Netpod 15 at the checkout at lovellnetball.co.uk. Can you tell it's getting to the midpoint in the season? We're going a bit loopy. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.